How do you feel about the way Obama's handling issues regarding Israel's security and stability?
Well, I think if you look at President Obama's record, and I think the Israelis themselves would acknowledge it, that in the matter of security and intelligence cooperation, the relationship has been exemplary. With regard to Iran, I think Obama has position has now evolved into one where he has developed this critical mass of remedies, diplomatic, political, economic, and saying that the military option is on the table and that a nuclear Iran is unacceptable. Where I think Obama's position has been problematic has been on the Israeli-Palestinian issue. I remember when I was meeting with President Abbas a little over a year ago and speaking with him about having direct discussions with Israel without preconditions, and he said, well, you know, Obama has said that ceasing settlement construction is a condition for negotiations. How can I be less pro-Palestinian than President Obama? So I think there was that period when some of President Obama's remarks and conduct were not helpful, but if you go back a year ago to his speech at AIPAC, I think he then articulated what I would call some 8 principles or parameters regarding the Israeli-Palestinian relationship, and 7 of them were those that could be easily embraced by Prime Minister Netanyahu, including the fact that Israel cannot be expected to negotiate with a Palestinian Authority, Hamas, a reconciliation so long as Hamas does not recognize Israel, renounce violence and accept international agreements, or other parts of that 8-point set of principles. So I think that since last year we've had a framework for an Israeli-Palestinian relationship, principles that Israel can abide by, and that's why I think the Israeli-Obama relationship in relation to the Israeli-Palestinian one has improved.
But I say again, look into his past associations, his present associations. One of his chief advisors in the Middle East is a man named Khalidi, who was a big aide to Arafat, who was a terrorist, an enemy of the United States. So, if with a guy like that in his cabinet, and he's, by the way, almost everybody in his cohort of advisors on the Middle East are anti-Israel and have proved themselves to be in the past and in the present.
Do you think he's looking to set Israel up to take a fall?
I think that he would not be terribly perturbed if Israel fell. And he's not doing anything at this time in history to help. On the contrary, he drags Israel before the UN Commission, Civil Rights Commission, drags Israel before Cuba, Libya, China, all these wonderful democratic, Jefferson democratic governments to judge whether Israel is indeed violating civil rights, which of course is a stupid lie to begin with. That Israel is one of the most democratic, one of the most generous in their treatment of even their enemies in the world today. They're extremely mild. They don't execute. First of all, they don't kill anybody because it's against their law to kill an enemy unless it's on the battlefield. So it's a lie, and that's what he does. What Obama does is to bring Israel before the tribunal of the United Nations, along with our own state of Arizona, by the way. He has brought Arizona, Hillary Clinton has brought Arizona before the UN to judge whether Arizona is a state that is acting unfairly to its people.
Why should Americans be concerned about Obama's shift from?
Yeah, quite simply, if Iran gets the bomb, which is kind of the path we're on, The whole region is going to freeze. Here we have Israel, which is this amazing innovator, and it is a country that does so much good for the rest of the world, but also it's really closely interlinked with the United States economic interests. We're very close. I mean, Microsoft and these Intel, they have massive investments there, and that's for a reason. Because of that, the whole Middle Eastern region is going to freeze. It's just going to be a backward dark age is going to descend over, because nobody's going to be able to do anything about Iran if it does have a nuclear weapon. That's got to stop. And unfortunately, he's not being forceful or assertive. He keeps saying we're going to reset, or we let their deadlines go by. And Iran just snickers and laughs. They know very well that this is a paper tiger, and that's why they're forging ahead, and they're strengthening Russia. What happens is, if they do check Iran, is that Israel's magnificent influence over the region and the rest of the world is going to spread, and it's going to make the Arab countries prosperous. They're going to understand, look, if you innovate, if you free your people, if you let your women vote, if you allow entrepreneurs to start up, we're at an entrepreneurs conference, it's quite amazing. If you let that happen, your people are going to be peaceful and prosperous too. You're not going to be worried about things. That's in your that's your real interest. It's not this oil industry thing. Now, the thing about the oil industry is Obama has halted fracking and done environmental things that have done truly negative things to the U.S. oil industry and discouraged it in general. If the oil industry can develop, that would create competition for the Saudis and the other heavy-duty Arabs that rely far too much on the oil industry. What will they have to do? They'll have to diversify their economies, and then that's when they're going to start listening to Israel, because Israel has long ago diversified its economy. It's a startup nation. Because of that, the importance of energy, of breaking up the energy monopolies, is what's really going to give Israel space to blossom, create an atmosphere for peace, create an interest in what Israel's contributing. Already the Arabs are quietly interested in what Israel's doing, but there's too much political nonsense going on, too much UN and barbaric types of anti-Semitic activity from these multilateral organizations. And for that matter, we're not seeing much help from Europe. So something like this, the energy picture in particular needs to be addressed, just to break up the monopolies in the Arab world and force them to open your eyes. There's a great neighbor that you can learn things from.
Israel.